Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of the Las Vegas Advisor Weekly Update with Anthony and Andrew. Today is Thursday, November 7th in the year 2024, quickly approaching 2025.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there. So this is our first YouTube video since the epic Vegas Matt interview.
And it was epic. I mean, it was. I was incredibly grateful to have Matt and the team come in.
Well, we've got to, we have to talk about this. We have to, dissect it a little bit.
Yeah.
Given the results of it. Up till now, the biggest viewership we'd ever had was 23,000.
That's right.
For one show. This one, less than a week after we posted it, we're at 85,000 and counting.
Yeah, which by far, I mean, that's the biggest episode we've ever had.
It shows the power, that he has with what he does. 700 comments. Mm-hmm. And boy, I'll tell you, you talk about a lesson in human nature and the human condition.
Yeah.
Reading those comments, it kind of all stemmed from, most of them were talking about one question that we asked,
right,
which was, why do people watch?
Right. And
they were perturbed, to put it mildly, that I asked that question. There were, a lot of insults directed toward me.
Well, I thought people wanted to weigh in. That was something they really wanted to weigh in on. Here's why I watched the show.
They did, but but it was so interesting how protective they were.
Right.
There was almost like, and it's interesting. They had no idea. The audience had no idea who we are.
Right.
They didn't know about, Las Vegas Advisor has a very strong reputation in gambling.
Right.
The books we publish, they're the best books in the world. They truly are. Our knowledge level is high when it comes to gambling. But these people were so much like, who the hell are you?
Right. Well, it's a smaller piece of the pie of people who really love gambling and the numbers.
Pretty big, yeah, but a pretty big piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Some of the things, interestingly, towards me, mean.
Mm-hmm.
That I was mean interviewing, and I didn't think I was mean at all. I respected those guys, and I thought, there was deference to what they had done, their awesome business model and so forth. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But mean, salty.
Salty. I saw that comment. They said you were a little salty with Vegas Matt. I didn't see that. I didn't see the saltiness. But I know you again.
The interviewer was salty.
Yeah.
The interviewer had dry mouth, which bothered me, and maybe because I was salty and the salt dried my mouth out. But it was crazy. It kind of ran the gamut. To others that were complimentary and said, "What a great interview."
A lot of that. There was a lot of people who really liked the interview.
We learned things, about them. But it's like it's tribalism. That's the word for it. The word for that kind of reaction is being tribalistic or tribalism, meaning that people glom onto something that they love,
mm-hmm.
and they're protecting that person and they're that thing, and to be honest, they're protecting themselves because this is something that they love and they do, and it's justification for what they do, and there's no problem with that.
Right.
I'm not saying anything wrong. I'm just saying, if you watch this fascinating interview, I thought even more fascinating is read some of those comments.
Yeah, it is. The comments were great, and by the way, you mentioned we got 700 comments. We usually get about 100 and something.
Yeah, anywhere between 75 and 150 comments, and we're at 700 and counting there. And again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm angry about it at all. The comments to me were as fascinating as the interview itself.
Yeah.
And I really like to hear what people had to say. I'll tell you what really struck me. Mm-hmm. Of all of this, what struck me is, of those 700, I would say between 5 and 10%. So anywhere from, say 30 to 70 of them, mm-hmm. were people saying, I asked the question, do you feel like you're Pied Pipering people, like you're leading lambs to slaughter?
Right.
By making them watch you play and all. And they countered Matt countered, and it was WBG and EJ were also on the show, and they countered, we don't think so, because we're very transparent with what we show.
Mm-hmm.
We show our losses, which I thought was great.
Yep.
But it really got stuck into my mind when I read comments from people saying, this helps me. I gambled too much. And this is a replacement for that, or it's a substitute.
Yeah, this gives me my fix.
Yes, and people went so far as to say, I had a gambling problem.
Mm-hmm.
And watching this alleviates that because I get that action jolt.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, I'm like, this is a very bad thing about influencers. And it may be happening to some degree, especially for the ones who don't show losses. Mm-hmm. But for Vegas Matt's group, And what they're doing a service.
Right.
I mean, a good service, a public service for people who have these problems, it appears to me.
Well, the other thing that they brought up is that the perception is that they're kind of like a reality show.
Yeah.
And people love to hear their banter as much as they like to watch the play.
Well, there was a lot of that too, where people saying, "Are you crazy? What do you mean, why do I watch it? I watch it because it's fun. I watch it because it's funny. I watch it because Matt is funny.
Yeah.
I watch it because it's like a family.
Yeah.
I watch it because I feel like they're friends after, all of these years."
I feel like I know them.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, I mean, I can tell you, I learned a lot. And I'm pretty thick-skinned, I'm pretty thick-skinned when it comes to something like that. So people, they want to criticize, that's okay. I don't care. I learned a lot about what this whole thing is about. And again, going back to the business model, I have, nothing but appreciation for, what they've been able to accomplish. So I say, watch it. If you haven't watched it, it's a little over an hour, right?
Yeah, the interview's great, but also go check out the Vegas Matt Slot channel. I was just there watching the channel, and you get invested in these videos. It's a lot of fun to watch these guys.
Yeah, and again, talking about power, we asked them what their favorite books were. And WBG said David Sklansky's Getting the Best of It, which is not a Huntington Press book, so I don't have much input on that. But you said Gambling 102.
Yeah.
We probably sold 100 books.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
Well, but also it's a good book for people that want that type of thing. And it's got a great chapter on advantage play. And I always say, you don't even have to read the book. Just look at the pictures, damn it. It's fun.
Yeah. And mine was The Art of Gambling.
Right.
And we didn't sell as many of those, but you know why? And I'm going to give a tip here. The Art of Gambling, if you go to buy it, it's $81 if you want to buy it at Amazon.
Okay.
If you buy it from us, it's $32.
Oh, wow.
So, go to LasVegasAdvisor.com and buy it there from the store if you want that. That's the art book I did with my dad.
Yeah, and it's a big book.
Yeah. So anyway, coffee table book. So, again, we're grateful. We're grateful for the comments. It was just, a fascinating study in human nature, and I hope we have them again, and we're going to have others.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of subscribers out of that. So if you're new to the show, thank you for subscribing, and I hope that you like what you see from here on out. All right, now this one is very exciting. The AFM, the American Film Market, has come to Vegas, and it is today, tomorrow, through the weekend at the Palms.
Well, that's your thing, Andrew. I mean, you come from L.A. You're in the business. To me, AFM, a foul mouth. I don't know what it stands for, right?
Right.
American Film what?
Yeah, it's the American Film Market where producers, distributors, film buyers, sellers, sales agents, they all come to the market. And it's an international group, so they come from all over the world to be here.
Okay, but it's a huge deal. My understanding is in L.A., and it's the first time out of L.A. in years and years, decades maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what was happening in Vegas. They don't have the big promo here.
I was surprised that it was not as highly publicized as I would have imagined, because you get producers, writers, directors, distributors, all these types of people, walking around, and it's an entertainment industry mecca. So I was surprised that it wasn't highly advertised. But also the significance of it is that you see this Hollywood 2.0 transition occurring, and I think that the American film market now being in Vegas is an indication of things to come.
Wow, I didn't even put that together. So we've talked about the two film studios that are trying to get tax credits to build here.
Correct.
So this is maybe a forward move to try to again push that theme here in Vegas.
That's right. Now I am hearing from some of the producers that they want to see the tax credit a little bit more incentive to come to Vegas.
Of course, everybody wants incentive.
Just a little, those producers.
Give me money.
Yeah.
Give me money. That's we're Hollywood. Give us what we want.
That's
that kind
right.
of thing. We'll see Hollywood versus the casinos. Let's see who comes out ahead there. Hopefully they coexist. Well, quick question. Is there any reason? I was at the Palms last night, and it was after hours, so it was somewhere around 9 o'clock or so. There was no indication of anything. Is there a reason for people to go?
Yeah, I
mean,
would
they
say
can't get into the show, right?
That's right. No, you got to have a badge to get into all the business parts. But what you want to do is just go hang by the bar, maybe between 5 p.m. and like 8 p.m. and you'll get a lot of different film and television executives, buyers, sales agents, distributors.
Any movie stars?
What's that?
Any movie stars?
Sometimes you do. You do get some movie stars that are here promoting a movie that they're selling.
Cool.
All right. Now, you know we got to tell you about the presidential election. Today's November 7th, and obviously November 5th was a big day. Anthony, let's talk a little bit about the election.
Yeah, well, the only thing I want to talk about is how the odds moved.
Okay.
And that's the thing we've been talking about all along. We've never said we like this candidate or that candidate, though we've been accused.
That's true in the comments.
But again, to me, the fascinating thing is the way the odds predict, the way the gambling markets are so accurate at predicting, who's going to win. So here's how it moved. I watched it, through election night, and I kept flipping on to the live odds as they were moving offshore. Trump going into it, Trump was minus 200 about a week before.
Okay.
And he dropped steadily until the day before he was only minus 125.
Interesting.
So he came way down from 2-1 to a 1.25 to 1 favorite. All right. However, by the next day, just before the polls opened, he was 185.
That's a big jump.
The day of. He jumped from 125 up to 185, close to 2-1 favorite. Now, here's the way it went. By 10 a.m., he had dropped from 185 to 165.
Okay.
Which made it look like Kamala Harris was potentially, looking good in the way things were happening, down to 165. And then it was like unleashed. It was like everybody, and this is well before any of these things were called, right? And so by 10 a.m., he was, that was at 10 a.m., excuse me. The steady rise started. By 5 p.m., he was minus 210.
Wow.
So he's over 2-1. That's at 5 o'clock. By 6:30, he was minus 400.
Okay.
4-1 favorite because they began calling different states and things, right? By 7 p.m., he was minus 750. By 7:30, half an hour later, he was minus 1,500.
Yikes.
And I mean, the gambling market said it's over.
Right.
And anybody who was watching that said it's probably over by now. And 30 minutes later at 8 p.m., it was OTB, which means off the board.
Right. So you just couldn't buy it
couldn't
anymore.
bet it anymore. They said it's a done deal. You're not going to be able to do it. So, regardless of whether you like the result or you don't like the result, obviously he won the popular vote as well. So more people like it than don't. But I think what comes through here is, again, how strong the gambling markets are. How strong markets are in particular.
In predictive.
Yeah, and in predictive-wise, yeah. And that's what I meant, predictive-wise. And, it bore out again.
This one's interesting. We talked about it in one of our Beer Friday live streams. In fact, the last Beer Friday live stream that we did, we talked about this. This is the Silver Sevens Blackjack Tournament $100,000 free roll. Let's talk about it again, Anthony. What's going on?
Open to the public.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing. And it's free. Free roll means it's free. Silver Sevens had to give away close to $100,000 because they had a progressive meter that they had to retire. We've talked about this before. That's when they give that money. They have to give that money away. When people have put money into a meter to grow the meter, the casino cannot keep that money.
Right.
And by gaming law, they have to distribute it somehow. Usually they do it just with drawings. But what Silver Sevens is doing is they're holding a free blackjack tournament. Winner take all.
So one person wins $100,000.
Yes.
Okay, and you're in the competition, right?
I've already played it.
Okay.
All right, now here's how you play it. You play it on Thursdays and Fridays. The first Thursdays and Fridays in November, leading up to the finals on the 16th, on November 16th.
Okay.
So you've got to be here. It's more for locals or somebody who can come back to Vegas if they are able to make it. So today, they had one last week on Friday. I played in that one. Today is the second one.
Okay.
All right, and the way it works is you have to put your name in the drum before they draw. Obviously, the drawings will be today at 6 p.m. and tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Okay.
All right, so you've got to go at some time before 6 p.m. today, 7 p.m. tomorrow. Put your name in the drum, and then be present at the drawing when they pull out the names.
And you have to get picked and be present. Yeah.
And they pull out 36 names.
Okay.
All right, so it's a big drawing because they've got 6 tables of 6. It's one advance from each table advances to that final on the 16th, which is a semifinal first, 1 out of 6 again, and then there'll be 6 on the final.
Wow.
And they'll play for $100,000.
Wow.
All right, so I did it. And we did a calculation in the Las Vegas Advisor, estimating there might be 100 people present for the drawing. That would give you a little over $200 in expected value just to be there.
Okay.
The chances of you're getting drawn and then winning the tournament, which will be 180 players total. There were fewer than 60 in the drawing.
Really?
When
Okay.
I went.
So you almost had a 50-50 shot.
Well, more than.
Yeah, a little
you know,
more.
to get drawn.
Yeah.
And we raised the expected value calculation to $330 just for standing there.
Sure. Okay.
So I was there with two buddies of mine. Two of us got drawn. One didn't. Blair Rodman.
Oh, poor Blair.
Who wrote Kill Phil. Blair did not get drawn.
Yeah.
But he got drawn at the end. They have a second chance drawing for $100 in free play.
Okay.
You have to have a player's card to be good for that drawing. All right. So it's great. You play only 10 hands. Shoot your bullets, and one person out of 6 will advance. So there are 6 people in the semifinals. So I played it last week.
Yeah.
And I was on one of 6, and 6 out of the 36 who will go to the semifinals have already advanced, but there's 4 more to go.
Okay. So 4 more to go. And I'm assuming you won your table?
Well, I did.
Yeah.
I did win my table, and here's a little information on how to play this. There's only 10 hands.
Okay.
So you've got to get your money out there, and you start with $7,000, and there's only a $2,000 max. And I turned my $7,000 on the last hand. You can bet it all. I turned my $7,000 into $26,000 to advance.
There you go.
It was a gunfight.
Okay.
It was an absolute gunfight.
And so there were people pretty close to you?
Yeah, there were 4 of us in it at the end. I got extremely lucky. I had to double down on a 12 against a 10.
Oh, wow.
And everyone else had to lose, and I won.
So everyone had to lose, and you had to win your double down on a 12 against a 10?
Well, one key guy had to lose.
Okay.
And to be honest, he had a 17, and I had a 19. So the dealer had to make 18, and the dealer made 18. See how good I am? But I mean, it's got very, very lucky, but I got my money out.
Okay.
And that's what you need to do if you're going to play this. But do it. I mean, go do it. Put your name in the drum. 36 players get drawn every night on Thursday today, Friday tomorrow, and Thursday and Friday next week for a shot at $100K.
Now, this reminds me of a piece of blackjack tournament advice that you gave me when we were doing the ones at the Downtown Grand. And it is, you want to be first out or last out. Like, obviously, you want to be last out. You want to win. But you want to shoot your guns.
You want to make sure with only 10 hands to play, you want to make sure, you can hang around for a couple of hands, but eventually you got to start betting big.
Yeah. Hey guys, it's Andrew from the Las Vegas Advisor, reminding you to go to the description box in the video and click on the link to get your member rewards coupon book. So when you come to Vegas, you can save thousands on all sorts of fun stuff to do. Happy couponing. All right. It feels like we haven't talked about this in a while, but what's going on with the Circa Survivor football contest, and how's it looking?
Down to 151.
Okay.
So, right, so they started with 14,200 approximately.
Right.
They're down to 151. There's 14.2 million plus in the prize pool.
Okay.
Winner take all. And that means, you divide that amount by the 151 remaining. That means that each ticket has an expected value of, or each entry remaining, $94,476.
Right. Okay. So what happens when the estimated value of a ticket gets so high like that?
Well, what happens is people want to start cashing in.
Right.
And so, yes, deals are being made.
Okay.
And they are. And I mean, I've been contacted by people saying, do you know anybody who wants to buy? I've got a ticket left. And does anybody want to do this? And here's the way it goes down. Yeah, deals are being made right now.
Okay.
All right. So if you wanted to buy 10% of this, they typically look at it and say, okay, I'll sell you 10% at par, meaning for the value of that ticket. So what was a $1,000 ticket, you would now pay $9,477 just for 10% of that ticket.
To get your 10%, yeah.
Of that ticket. That's
Wow.
at par. But that's not really the way it works because almost nobody is going to buy a ticket at par at this point. So they have to discount it. So they have to say, okay, this ticket is worth $9,477, but I'm going to give you a 10% discount, which means I will sell you this ticket for $8,500.
Wow.
All right. So the gambler and the pro gambler and the person who understands expected value, and we're going to talk about this again when we get to the question of the week, says, all right, I'll do it. I'll get $1,000 in equity right now by buying a $9,500 ticket for $8,500.
Right.
All right. Now it gets a little bit stickier because you've got to talk about, you got to have a contract signed. Unless you know the person,
right?
But if you don't know this person, you've just been made the acquaintances. You got to have a contract signed, and then you've got to negotiate who makes the decision?
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, who has the business controls? Who makes the vote?
Yeah.
Who has the tiebreaker in the event that there's a disagreement of?
So these deals are difficult to be made, but they get made.
Yeah.
And I know of at least one that's almost a certainty to happen.
Okay.
And people are going to trade. They're going to trade pieces of themselves at this point.
So there's a strategy. If you like the Survivor tournament, there's a strategy to sit back and wait a few weeks and see if you can buy into somebody's ticket.
Buy it at a discount. And, the problem you face is how good is that player I'm buying into?
Correct.
And, I know guys that look at it, they go and they look at their entry and they see who they've picked and who they have left, and they use that as part of the assessment.
And this week's question of the week comes to us from the Las Vegas Advisor website. This was a question of the day. Because every day on the Las Vegas Advisor website, we do a question of the day.
Yes, we do.
In the September issue of the Las Vegas Advisor, there's a discussion of overlays in football contests. In the article, you state an equity overlay occurs when more money is paid out in a guarantee than is collected in entry fees. In the case of the Survivor contest, what difference does this make? Only the final winner gets the prize money. Everyone else goes home with zero. It seems to me that in order to benefit from an equity overlay, you still have to win. What do you think about that, Anthony? That's an interesting one. So you got winner take all, but you also have an equity overlay.
Yeah, well, this, like you said, this came from, we do question of the day every day at LVA. It's a members thing. So it's like, you've got to be at least a diamond member, which means it's $3 a month.
Okay.
So that's 10 cents a day to read the question of the day. But this is an abstract concept that a lot of people have a hard time getting their head around. And in fact, in the comments on this, we got some pushback. But what we're talking about is what you look for in gambling, what a pro or an expert looks for in gambling. And you look for favorable odds, you look for opportunities everywhere you can. And what we call equity overlays are a big part of that. So let me try to explain it here a little bit. Let's bring it down to lowest terms, right down to lowest terms with only two players flipping coins.
Okay.
All right, so you and I are going to play. We each put in $10. All right, you got heads, I got tails.
Okay.
All right, so what's supposed to happen? Half the time you're going to win, half the time I'm going to win.
Right.
Winner take all. There's $20 in the prize pool. We play it once, you win, you take the 20. We ante up again, we play again, I win, I take the 20. We're all even.
Okay.
All right, that's called even equity. Now, what if we had to put up $10 a piece and somebody from downstairs says, I'm throwing $2 into the pot.
Okay.
All right, now it's $22 for the winner. So after the first one, you win 22.
Okay.
After the second one, I win 22. We've both put up 20, and we're both up $2.
Correct.
Okay? So each time we played, our $10 was worth $11.
Okay.
Right? That's called an equity overlay.
Okay.
That if everything goes according to plan, the way it's supposed to. Now, when they're talking about these long shots, it's true. You're probably not going to win, and they go, so there's no value. Well, there's a mathematical value.
Right. There's a mathematical value. Yeah.
And that if you were to play this into infinity, you would win your share and you would win that extra money.
And that's what professional gamblers look for. They look for the opportunity where over the course of time, you'll come out ahead.
Exactly. Now, here was this was kind of like a summation, what we wrote in the question of the day. Because now that's assuming what I just said, assumes that everybody's of equal value as we are in a coin flip.
Okay.
All right, but now when we're talking about a contest where some are better than others, here's what we wrote to sum it up. Over many contests, the value of the overlay will bear out, and that goes for all players, even when considering differences in skill levels.
Okay.
All right, so the greater the overlay, the more the good players will win over time. The less the bad players will lose over time, and the average players will win rather than break even.
Over time.
Yeah. And like I say, all of this is over time.
Yeah.
So there's the value of the equity overlay. It's an expert concept that's difficult to get your head around sometimes. As I said, it's abstract, but it is something that the way the pros operate.
All right. And you heard it here. It also reminds me of last week in the Vegas Matt interview when Vegas Matt said to WBG, he said, if you had a 51% chance, you'd take that bet every time, right? And he said, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a situation where the odds are skewed in your favor.
Yeah.
And this is something that's very similar.
Right, because even if they're just slightly skewed in your favor over the course of time, the mathematical equation proves that you will win more than you lose.
And guess who's proven that?
The computers?
The casinos.
The casinos. That's right. Of course, because they get the money compounded over and over and over again.
That's right.
Especially from stupid Keno players like me. And this week's Jackpot of the Week, it comes to us from Joe and Sherilyn. He says, our first night in Vegas at the Gold Coast, I was playing 25 cent, switched to dollars, and this happened. Actually dealt ace 3 2 ace ace. Shortly afterward, my wife hit a 10-cent royal on another machine. A friend of mine always asks me, would you rather get lucky at the beginning or at the end of your trip? And I'll take luck any time. Yeah, me too.
Okay, let's look at this one.
Yeah.
I like this one. Joe and Sherilyn came in
Okay.
a couple of weeks ago and told me about hitting this, and I said, "We'll send it in,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about it."
Well, now they made a mistake, right? There's a big glaring error on there.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So
Okay.
let's just talk about what they were playing and what they got here. Interesting, they switched to dollars at the right time.
Yeah,
Right.
Love it when that happens.
And they were playing 9-6 double bonus.
Okay.
That's a 98.98% game.
That's a good game.
Which is pretty good.
Right.
And now to your point, you say a glaring error. It's not glaring to most people.
That's right.
I mean, what they did is they were dealt 3 aces and a kicker and a rag, as they call it, a rag, just the off card. And they kept the 3 aces and the kicker.
They kept the kicker, which is the big glaring mistake.
Well, that's not big and glaring to me. I mean, I think that's most people would think you would keep the kicker on this game.
Okay.
But again, we go back to the computer, and the computer says that you do not keep the kicker.
Right.
And the difference on that is not a lot, all right? But the proper play is to keep the 3 aces alone.
Now, I remember being at a bar with you a few years ago, and there was a guy who yells out across the bar, "Hey, Anthony, I got 3 aces with the kicker. Do I hold the kicker?" And you said, "No."
Right, because I mean, again, you want to make the correct mathematical play.
That's right.
The one with the highest DV, and that is to hold the aces, to have 2 shots at least getting those aces, and you can still get the kicker.
That's right, because
But
that
holding
4th ace is very valuable.
It's huge. So you hold that extra. If you hold that kicker, you only get 1 shot at the ace.
Right.
All right. So there's a reason, but again, as we've said over and over again, it's what the computer spits out, and the computer says you hold the 3 of a kind without the kicker in this case, even the aces. So let's go back to his last statement.
Okay.
Would you rather be lucky early or would you rather be lucky late?
Well, I'll tell you, Murphy's Law is that you get lucky in the very beginning of your trip. You hit a big one, and then over the course of your trip, you just give it back, and you can't do it again. I've had that happen several times.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I don't go on trips to gambling places very often because I'm in a gambling place, but I go on lots of sessions.
Okay.
And I always like getting lucky early.
Yeah.
Because then I'm not sweating like what's my result going to be.
Interesting.
And I can put some away if I want. I mean, I've said this before. If it's a good game and a good situation, I'm not putting anything away until that situation goes away.
Right.
But assuming I'm playing a negative expectation game and having a beer or two, I like to hit it early.
Definitely.
And I've had them when I've hit on the last going, this is my last hand, and boom, I hit a quad and get out or something. And that's kind of cool, but I'd much rather not go through the agony of saying, I'm going to lose, right? I'd rather hit it early.
Well, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. You can go to the link in the description box to sign up as an LVA member to get your coupon book. Anything else to add, Anthony?
Yeah, actually, just a welcome to the new subscribers from the Vegas Mad interview. If you watch this all the way through, you got a good idea of what we do.
Yeah.
This is what we do. I mean, we like to have the guests on when we can. We do a Fun Beer Friday once a month where we get drunk before your very eyes.
Yep.
But mostly we talk about what's going on in Vegas. We talk about gambling concepts and ideas, things of that nature.
Yeah. And when we do the go lives, we like it when you guys grab a drink and drink with us.
Absolutely.
I'm going to Las Vegas.